Set amidst the dense forests and towering hills of India lay a mysterious village, Manga. Surrounded by thick jungles, ancient ruins, and a silence that turned into terror as soon as night fell, the village elders always told a tale, the story of the Red Moon. They said that centuries ago, a powerful tantric had bound the village with his dark spells. He sought power, he wanted to be immortal, but his experiments spread death and madness. The villagers united to stop him. That night, fires blazed, screams echoed, and the tantric vanished. As he left, he cast a curse. When the red moon returns, Manga will sink into darkness. For years, nothing happened. Slowly, people began to consider the story just a scary legend. But the darkness had not ended. It was merely waiting for the right time. It was night. Clouds were moving rapidly across the sky. A strange silence hung over the village. Suddenly, from behind the clouds, a massive red moon appeared. The entire village was drenched in crimson light. The air grew heavy. Dogs began to howl. Trees swayed without any wind. In that same village lived 19-year-old Mukul. He was different from the other boys. His eyes were always full of questions. He always felt that something was hidden in Manga. That night he was sitting on his roof watching the red moon, when suddenly a blood-curdling scream echoed from the other end of the village. Mukul rushed down immediately. Villagers were gathered outside a house. Inside, a man was shivering violently. His body was burning with fever. His veins had turned black and his eyes were blood red. His wife was crying, begging for help. Suddenly, the man began to cough loudly. Strange black creatures started falling from his mouth onto the floor. They were like small insects crawling on the ground. The people in the room recoiled in terror. "What is this?" someone asked in a trembling voice. By morning, many in the village had fallen ill. Children had high fevers. Black marks appeared on some people's skin. As night fell, the sick began to mutter in a strange language. Fear gripped the village. Everyone gathered in the village square. There stood Harinarayan, the oldest man in the village, with fear clearly visible on his face. Then Gajanand stepped forward from the crowd. The villagers thought he was mad because he often said strange things and wandered the jungles alone. His eyes were terrified. "He has returned," he said in a shaking voice. "Who?" Mukul asked. Gajanand pointed toward the forest. "The man of the red moon. I saw him in the Kalvan forest. His eyes were like fire." Whispers broke out in the crowd. Some laughed, but Harinarayan's face turned pale. He spoke in a heavy voice. "If this is true, then the curse has returned to Manga. If this curse isn't stopped within 15 days, every person in this village will die." Mukul clenched his fists. At that moment, he decided he would put an end to this mystery. That night, he called his friends to the old well. There arrived Aryan, Rahul, Sushil, Priyanshu, Dipanshu, Atul, and Gajanand. Aryan was the most terrified. "We shouldn't get involved in this," he said. Rahul replied, "If we do nothing, the village will be destroyed." Priyanshu added, "I've read old records. This happened 100 years ago too." Gajanand began drawing symbols on the ground with his finger, a forest, a broken temple, and a red moon. Mukul said softly, "We must go to the Kalvan forest." At midnight, the 7 friends secretly left the village. As they moved deeper into the jungle, the air grew cold. Suddenly, they spotted an old ruined temple. Priyanshu touched the wall and said, "These are symbols of an ancient dark spell." They descended into a massive cave beneath the temple. There, 2 red eyes glowed in the darkness. A tall, dark figure emerged from the shadows. "You have finally come," its heavy voice boomed. Mukul gathered his courage and asked, "Who are you?" The figure laughed. He revealed his name, Bhairav. Bhairav was once the guardian tantric of Manga, whom the villagers had betrayed. Now, he was seeking revenge. Mukul and his friends managed to escape. Upon returning home, Mukul's grandmother gave him an old diary. Reading it, Mukul realized his ancestors were among those who had betrayed Bhairav. Days passed and the village's condition worsened. Priyanshu discovered that Bhairav could only be stopped by an ancient light mantra, the final part of which was hidden in the deepest part of the forest. The 7 friends set out for the forest again. On the way, dark shadows attacked them, but this time, no one backed down. In the deepest part of the jungle, they found a glowing scripture. When they returned to the village, the final night had begun. Mukul opened the scripture, but his heart sank upon reading the last line. He said in a low voice, "To complete this mantra, someone must sacrifice the power of their soul." That night, they reached the temple. Bhairav was performing the final ritual. Mukul began chanting the light mantra. A golden glow began to emanate from his body. Bhairav attacked with dark energy, but a shield of light formed in front of Mukul. With all his might, Mukul shouted the final line of the mantra. There was a loud explosion, and the entire cave filled with golden light. Bhairav screamed as his body turned into smoke. The first rays of the morning sun hit Manga village. The sick began to recover. The village was saved. The villagers welcomed Mukul and his friends like warriors returning from battle. But there was no peace in Mukul's heart. He remembered Bhairav's final words. That night, Mukul went into the forest alone. Suddenly, darkness began to spread around him. The red moon began to shine again. Bhairav's laughter echoed, and Mukul screamed, "No!" And then his eyes snapped open. He was in his room. Everything was normal. His mother entered and smiled, saying, "It was just a dream, son. Everything is fine now." Mukul took a breath of relief. He went outside where all his friends were laughing and playing. He took a deep breath and thought, "Thank God it was just a dream." Just then, Gajanan slowly approached him and whispered in his ear, "If it was just a dream, then how did this mark get on your hand?" Mukul's heart skipped a beat. He looked at his wrist. There was a small black mark, exactly like the ones he had seen on the sick people in his dream. A faint laughter echoed from the direction of the forest.